So this caravan is a Coromal. It's a Coromal off-road pop top. I think they call it a Magnum. This suspension is one of my favourite suspensions in caravans. They don't actually use it anymore. They don't make these Coromal caravans like they used to anymore. The type of suspension is independent wishbone from a centre pivot. So typically most independent suspensions now will pivot from the front, what we call a trailing arm, and they'll have shockies and coils. With this, they've got a double slipper leaf spring. So you notice there's no eyes on the springs at all, so it's a slipper both sides. Running a really basic setup. Now, most people look at this and go, it's not going to do anything, it's not going to be as good as a coils and shockies and everything else, but realistically, this is probably one of the best towing caravan suspensions ever made. It's also one of the most simple. This caravan will be heading up for probably 15, 16 years old now. There's no bushes in here to replace, almost no wearing parts on the suspension. Runs so basically it pivots from the centre as well. Being that it pivots from the centre rather than from, you get a lot less body roll. So basically when they pivot from the front, you do tend to get a lot more body roll. You do get more clearance from trailing arm suspension, more travel, whereas in these you do tend to get a little bit less travel. However, you do get a lot less body roll as well. So when travelling on bitumen, which is most of what people do for most of the time, they do tow a lot better. So I've towed hundreds of Coromal caravans, and so they tow better than anything. But again, it's a very old looking suspension, but again, one of the best you can get. So you can see the brake setup as well. So this is an electric brake setup. So you can see these are brake shoes. And as this magnet comes forward, so this is an electromagnet. When you apply the brake power in the car, the brake controller sends power down to this magnet, grips onto the inside of the drum. As it does that, that's what throws the brake shoes on. You can see this is just one shoe moving, the other shoe is from the handbrake. Really good system, really basic. A lot of people sort of do ask about getting disc brakes fitted to caravan. Caravans typically only responsible for 20% of the braking for the whole combination. So even if you turn your brake controller up for the rest of it, most of the braking is still done on the front axle of the car, second axle of the car, and then the last bit is the caravan. Physics basically dictates that because it's at the rear, it just won't have the same pull. You can turn your brake controller up, but basically all you're going to do at one point is just skid your tyres. This has actually been fitting with a slightly different electromagnet as well. So the centre of here, instead of being a standard sort of cross roof, steel on steel, these have got basically a plastic lock in here too. So the idea is when they sit on corrugations, they don't chafe out. You can get nearly a lifetime out of these. They don't wear out a lot. You could get 30, 40, 50,000 Ks out of one of these. And for a caravan, that's typically a lifetime because they don't do the same kilometres as a car very often. You'll notice this stub axle as well. It's not tapered, so this is what you call a parallel sub axle. So basically they've got a forward inner bearing and a forward inner bearing to get a slightly higher weight capacity. Whereas typically an axle would be tapered, so it would be big on one side and tapers down to a smaller one. So this is just another slightly heavier duty bearing setup. Again, using forward parts, so forward slimline bearings, they're very easy to get anywhere.